One. Welcome to Crawford Cast, featuring me and Dr. Jessica Rose. Dr. Rose, who's tired, and myself, who's concussed, and if you can't tell by my glasses, feeling a bit like a retard. And so Matthew's going to take it over for us.
We'll
Matthew,
see if I can.
Well, you got it. You don't. It's not C. It's on you.
Well, okay. Well, we've got some place to go because Jessica had a dream. And this is a dream worth talking about too. It's one of those spectacular, like, you have to analyze this dreams. And so she got on Substack and talked about it. So tell us about your dream, Jessica.
All right. Before I do, though, if any of the people who made comments or sent emails about the dream are listening, thank you so much. I got like hundreds. I got so many responses to this. I couldn't read them all yet. I'm really sorry. I will. But I read all the personal emails. I got over 100 of those too. And I'm like, whoa.
I saw this morning, somebody wrote not one, but 2 Substacks about your dream after your Substack about your dream.
Did you send that to me? Oh man, I want to see that. Okay, let me summarize, although it'll probably end up being a story. I'm a bit of a storyteller. So I had a nap. I had a surf session, which was in a very windy conditions, which it makes you feel concussed. It wipes you out. And I also had a beer, and I haven't been drinking anything lately. So I really had a wipeout nap. And during that nap, I had this very vivid dream. It was a short nap, short dream, but it was very, very, I remember it like very vividly even now, and it was days ago. So I was back in St. John's, Newfoundland, where I used to live, and it was St. John's, Newfoundland. And there's a road called Kenmount Road that leads from, the outskirts, the ports, into the city. And on the left side of the road, when you're driving down Kenmount Road, there's a bookstore called Chapters. So this is one of those chains. It's still there. I looked it up on maps and it's still there. And I took a screenshot. And so I used to go to Chapters. And of course, we used to head right to the back where the travel section was, looking for like Let's Go guides and stuff. So the dream, I'm driven there by my friend. He lets me out of the car and waits in the parking lot because I'm just going to run in. I have a goal. I have a book about surviving dictatorships that I know is in the bookstore, and I'm just going to go find it and buy it and leave. So I go into the store. I find the book. I don't know exactly where. I lost the details on that one. And then it becomes vivid when I'm standing at the checkout counter, which is on the right-hand side of the store. You're getting details here that I don't fill in the.
Yeah, sometimes I wonder, do you lose details, or does your mind just sort of like, fast forward through a tunnel in these dreams?
Right. I don't know. Memory is really interesting, but I know that the visuals are what I go on for recounting the story. So I have a very strong visual that I don't mention in the Substack, that the checkout counter's on the right of the store. And it's a big open space, just like it was, with a blue carpet, a blue industrial carpet. I didn't say that either. So I dream in color when I dream. We talked about that, me and Matthew. So there's this big long counter with black laminate surface, or gray, dark gray, and no cash register like we used to have. There's just this little electronic device to scan your card. And so I have the book in my hand, in my left hand, and it's a floppy book like this, about yay thick, white, really floppy, hard to hold, with black cursive writing on it, which must have been the title. I don't know what it said.
It was the kind of floppy book, like the cartoon books, like you got the Far Side,
like Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Like a glossy. Yeah.
So I'm at the checkout counter and everything's fine, and I give her the book, and then I give her my card and I pay, and then all of a sudden I have the book, I have my card back, and I look down on the counter, and the lenses, I know why I have that visual now. I just realized something. Oh, it's so weird. Anyway, the lenses of my glasses are on the counter, the checkout counter on the gray laminate, but no frames. And
Can
they're
you
one on
see
top
them
of,
clearly in your dream?
yes, stacked
So
on
you can
each
see them
other.
clearly, even though you don't have your lenses on.
Interesting. I never even thought of that. Yes, I saw Matthew. I didn't even think about this. I saw clearly in the dream, but I didn't have my glasses on. Maybe I had my contacts on. I don't know. But the lenses of my glasses were on this counter, no frames, and they were stacked. And then they were in my right hand, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, I look up at the cashier, and it's a female on the left side. There were two of them. I picked her, and I said, "Where are my frames?" And of course, that was a retarded question because it's like, why would she know where my frames are? And so she kind of just, and then all of a sudden, people are starting to gather to pay for their books on the sides of me. They're behind and on the sides of me, and I'm aware of their presence. And so I look on the floor, I look in my purse, I look everywhere they might be, and I can't find them. And I'm like, really, really starting to become distressed because I'm a logical person. I acted how I probably would in real life. I'm like, what in the mother of hell happened to my freaking frames? And no one will help me. So then I started getting
So
more.
people, so can I cut in here?
Yeah.
So people are gathering, waiting while you find a way to reframe your ability to see how to get through the dictatorship.
Pretty much. Exactly. So, and nobody can hear my problem or see that I have a problem or care that I have a problem. And so that created more anxiety in me and distress. And I'm like, how come nobody gives a shit that I'm upset about something? Like, because I'm really empathetic. If I see a stranger upset, I always go up to them, especially if they're crying. I'm like, can I do something for you? That's what I do. So it was really weird to me that no one cared that I was without my frames, first of all, and that I was really upset about something. And so that's basically where the dream ended. I think I remember starting to walk out of, yes, I started to walk out of the store. And that's when I woke up and I realized that I had been dreaming this weird thing. So yeah, Matthew and I had this really long conversation about it. And he pointed out that it was about reframing like my platform, my vision, so that I can enable myself to see in a different way. And anyway, the reason I brought up the comments in the from you guys listening, or maybe listening, was because you so many of them sent so much insight that I would never think in a million years. Some of it was like, well, most of them were like, yeah, Matthew's right. And then some of them were like, well, I'm a dream analyst and da 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 da. And so it was wild how many people said such cool, interesting stuff. And I'm like, I love Substack.
Substack is great.
Ugh. It's such a positive space, not to sound like a granola, but it really is. It's like it promotes growth and exchange and caring, albeit from virtual.
You probably
Well, part of what it is so many of our spaces have been poisoned over the past few years, right? Like, and there's no doubt at some point that there's a certain level of intention to it, right? And it may be a partisan tension, but I think that it's even bigger than that. I think it's some sort of like top-down tension where there are people who just want everyone to feel sick right now, for everyone to feel frustrated and feel, I call everything that we've been going through the pandemonium, because I don't just want, to think of it as pandemic related, because it's not, it's economic related, it's social related. It is this, it's the pandemonium, and we can see it everywhere. But Substack has been this they've stuck to their guns. They've had their principles. They say very vocally, we want to hire people with these principles, and things like that, right? So Yeah, it is a great place.
You would probably also, I imagine, I'm not on there, but I imagine you probably have a lot of people that were banned from other places and not in the traditional ban for posting child porn or Nazi shit, but rather guys like Dr. Malone, like Dr. Rose,
Yeah, exactly.
or
Yeah,
like I was banned from you. So it's not necessarily people that were banned for just wanting to speak out, and not even wanting to speak out, just not be censored. So I would
exactly.
imagine you have a lot of people who are like in that mindset, are like, hey, I will plant my feet. Like, you're not going to tell me I can't talk. But those are also, not to pat myself on the back, those are also people who are very open to other people's ideas. Like, hey, I don't agree with it, but hey, let it fly. So it's probably
Yeah,
that.
I went there specifically because I started my Substack in February of last year. And I went there specifically because I'd been running a group for discussion of scientific evidence of early treatment medicine. I'd been running it since like mid 2020.
Circling
And
the,
I kept
circling the
getting
flat earth.
targeted and banned, like 30-day, bans from Facebook. And that's intolerable when you're trying to run a discussion circle, right? And so I was like, you know what, originally I didn't even have I didn't even know there was a turn subscriptions on button. I was just like, I'm going to write out these articles. These are going to be links for people to engage in these absurd debates and deflect the lies and the nonsense, that are talking points of the other side. That was actually my original goal in letting loose these articles, was to allow people to have links to say, no, this is factually incorrect. This is what's gone on, or to make a little sense of it. So
what's your Substack again? Is it Circling the Flat Earth?
Rounding the Earth.
Fuck. Close enough, sorry.
And I'm on Substack because of Mathew. Really, I don't even know if I told you this before. You're the person that introduced me to the whole thing. And I still remember how I used to feel about it. I'm still I'm still a novice, even though I'm a hardcore Substacker, but I still haven't figured out how to start a new newsletter. It's like I have 500 in the same one. I'll just keep going.
Yeah, I think I pushed a lot of the pandemic Substackers in. Actually, I told Steve. I pushed Steve in, and I pushed Jess Ken. I didn't know that I pushed Jess Ken, but and then Steve pushed Robert Malone in. But I was going around sort of mentoring. I was trying to mentor everybody into how to use it, how to get past my first few months of what does this button do, where is that button, and now there's a whole lot of people writing good scientific articles or good review articles, about what all is going on. So Substack has become the paper of record, essentially, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes.
It is so much better. It is so much better than going out to the newspapers. There are a handful of good reporters still at the newspapers, and sometimes you can get, with Substack, you can get varying quality. And sometimes and I guess you get that with newspapers too. You get tiny little 2-paragraph articles sometimes that don't really say much. We do a way better job. We do a way better job.
I agree. What was I going to say? Oh, my dream last night, Mathew, I had another very potent dream with one message, and it was very simple and clear. It said, I don't know where they come from, but it said, publish everything. That's all that's important. And what the message was implying was that you need some kind of an historical account of what's going on now.
Document everything.
Yeah, document, exactly. Not publish, yes, online or whatever, but document everything and share the hell out of everything too. I know everything will probably end up getting erased, but maybe not. Maybe we'll have better Wayback Machines in the future. Maybe we'll have a digital archive that's really, really good.
Well, maybe this will be the moment that pushes people together to support something like a blockchain record, right? Blockchain and publication, it's a little bit of a tricky problem because the idea of a blockchain is to have this really, really narrow corridor for the purpose of security, right? That's what a blockchain specifically is. It's what we call a Merkle tree. It's the simplest of graphs that is meant for protection, but that is not good for publication. It is a dumb database when it comes to actual, large scale information organization. But we can do something like come up with a system where people store that stuff on their computers, like Tor. You can have a Tor network. Stuff is all over the world. But I think what's going to happen is people who store what's being pulled up will be paid in little, micro payments of cryptocurrency for having stored it and served it.
Oh,
And
I like
both the author and the storer will get some sort of payment on all of that. So I think that's the direction that we're heading.
Do you visualize transiency? Like you're only going to store something for some small amount of time, like to keep it moving? Or?
I suspect you'll have choice. I mean, I don't know what the best architecture is. I'd love to sit down in a room with people who are thinking that through, and I have a couple of times. I've talked with technologists about this, but there's the interplanetary file server. Is that what it's called? I think that's one that's being discussed. And yeah, I mean, we're going to move in that direction, but it will take something probably like a mass deletion of important information. And we see, and maybe just Twitter alone, maybe Facebook and Twitter and Google, YouTube and all that will be what pushes it, because there is a lot of information that we would love to have that we are missing currently, because those institutions are censoring that information, are erasing pieces of history ultimately, and it's grotesque.
On like a microcosm of that, in summer 2017, they deleted my Gmail account, my Carrigan 8790, which I had since like Google since middle school. So they delete them, but so I had that since like, I don't know, whenever you could start Gmails, what we'll call 2007. A decade later, 2017, I specifically remember trying to log in and I couldn't, and it said I had violated terms of service. Now, mind you, this is like a year after Trump got in office. I had been making tons and tons of Trump memes, and the whole thing was nuked. But it was also all like my emails and pictures that I had saved on my drive from college, me and my buddies, stuff that I was always like, I just need to put this on an external sometime. My fault, I should have. But they deleted it. And when I went to ask, they said that the content of my Google Drive violated terms of service. And I looked it up, and apparently they do search for keywords, and some of it was about Trump. And so that got iced. And if I try to call, I've been trying to get back into that account for 5 years, and I still can't. It's gone. But there's just a microcosm of where, sure, I lost my Trump memes, but I also lost a lot of like really cool personal memories from college that don't mean anything to anybody else. But the point is those are placeholders for what if that was someone else's research, or what if that was like someone else's.
It's like somebody burns down your house and all your photo albums.
Yeah, like I don't care about the couch, but like now I don't have my pictures anymore. So but I remember them doing that. They just iced it. They search for keywords, I guess, in Google Docs.
Why do they get to fucking decide?
Well, technically it is a private company. I mean, it's evil, but
I suppose, but I don't know. I'm really like hardcore on that. Like, it's my account, and I know it's not my account, but it is. It's mine. Lay off.
That's why I have this podcast saved on so many different hard drives, in so many different people's basements. I've completely.
We live and we learn.
I'll say this: I'm very libertarian, in most regards. But what's happened is that we have monopolies, and we don't acknowledge them as monopolies. But if they weren't monopolies, they would not be able to negotiate the draconian level of control that they have. Yeah. Right. And therefore, like we're in some sort of weird fuzzy zone between having any control over monopoly development, which we have, that's always been acknowledged as the danger of technology. So long as technology is symmetric, there's not some great danger to most of it. But when you have asymmetric technology, now suddenly you have, a very small number of people who can push that button and cause immense pain, and that is pain, losing your photo albums, that's a serious, if I lost, I have, hundreds of thousands of emails. I have, emails from all kinds of clients. If my, email provider, I'm not even going to say who my email providers are. I have multiple, but if my email providers just took that away, I mean, how, that would stab me in the heart. Students, thousands of students. I have emails from thousands of students. That's a lot of liability to have in one place.
Yeah, that's what happened with my Facebook. I was on that for, I don't know, 13 years or something. And I was a Facebooker. I mean, I was a photographer as well, or I still am, I suppose. And I had, I don't know, I had definitely tens of thousands of photos up on there. And these were the ones that got picked to put up there. And yeah, I don't know. I can't remember how many friends I had, but that was the way, because I'm a woman of the world, that I stayed connected with people, and I connected anew with people that I used to know. It was a fascinating place, but yeah, I think we talked about this before. It became too toxic, and yes, it was me who deleted the account. But yeah, the loss is real. Yeah, photo albums gone, connections gone. But anyway, yeah, it's a different thing doing it yourself, but the reasons are the same, I suppose. It just became too toxic, and I guess it was me making the call, but yes, I know I'm talking too much again. My cat's here.
Mathew.
Malo Gato got a new cat.
What? What does it look like?
A little gray fuzzball.
That's not Steve, is it?
No. Actually, it's funny. Steve asked me the other day if I knew who El Malo Gato was, and I told him, like, you're not supposed to ask that question. The rule is you don't even say if you know. That's the rule with anonymous figures, right? Like, and this is saying a little bit, but I'll go ahead and say it. But like, that's the way anonymous worked back during the fight against Scientology, right? If somebody asks, you don't say if you know who a handle is. You just don't even ask the question, and you don't answer the question. You don't say yes, I know, or no, I don't know. You diffuse that pressure.
Yeah.
So that's a little lesson for the ecosystem, and it matters right now because there are people who are willing to do work and willing to publish because they can stay anonymous. Heck, 90% of what I wrote was published anonymously for about 2 decades before the pandemic, and I many days I wish I had stayed anonymous, but because I had begun conversations which turned into a Facebook group, which turned into a Substack, which turned into talking with Brian Tyson about publishing their study, and talking with Steve Kirsch. Like, I didn't get the chance to really make a choice the way that I would have. I would have gone with some sort of fuzzy icon, and there aren't many good reasons, unless you are publishing science. There are not many good reasons to be to not be anonymous right now. It's too dangerous.
I'm going to use the restroom real quick. Keep going.
So yeah. So you've had multiple. Are you dreaming more lately? I'm curious.
No, I mean, I'm a heavy dreamer, and I remember my dreams are like epic adventures usually. I have a lot of recurring dreams. I was a homeowner in Canada before I moved overseas. I bought it with my partner at the time, and we bought it real cheap because we were both builders. And our plan was to like rip it apart and like build it back up with like, everything that we wanted it to be inside.
Doesn't surprise me that you're handy.
Yeah, well, I learned most. I suppose I have it in me, but I learned most of what I know from him. He was like not just a builder, but he knew a lot about like architecture and fine furniture making. So I went more toward the side of furniture making fine, but I actually, yeah,
You make furniture.
I
My wife
did,
does too.
really,
Yeah.
yeah,
She made the day bed in her office, and she's made several things around here. Her father was a contractor.
yeah,
So our plan is, like, when we buy farmland, is to be making, our own stuff. And actually,
absolutely.
and here's a conversation that I want to have with you. I have an idea, and I don't know how well it'll work out, but this is I'm going to propose this. I'm going to propose a notion to you, and maybe everybody else out in the world can be thinking about it, and whether or not it's feasible. But lately, graphene has gotten a bad rap because of all the discussion of graphene oxide, but it is maybe the wonder material of our generation, of our several generations. And one of the things that I wondered is, can I build brick walls that serve as batteries? And there are all the pieces of the technology to conceive of this are out there. At Washington University in St. Louis, there is a professor who rusts bricks. Bricks have different amounts of content of different things, but they have iron. So maybe 15% iron. You rust a brick, suddenly you have a battery that can last 30 years. It can store 10,000 charges essentially over and over again, and it's just a brick, right? It's such cheap material that you just dredge out of the ground. So you can rust a brick to make it into a battery. What happens if you sprinkle some graphene in, right? Graphene has wonderful conductive properties. Can you now have a battery where you can literally just conduct through the entire wall? Or maybe you channel it. Maybe you have, some parts of the battery with graphene in it, some parts of the wall, but maybe not each brick, but it's a possibility. But then we can now make graphene, if powdered graphene will work well enough, if you don't need like the full strips that people want to make, like, body armor shirts out of, where two perfect sheets of graphene can stop a bullet, essentially. If you just need the powder type, there was I think it's a UT Austin professor who figured out that you can like flash fry rubbish, and the carbon, a lot of the carbon debris is in graphene form. Can you just take that, sprinkle it into your clay, make bricks? And that's the experiment that I want to work on once we buy our farm.
So
that's amazing.
So it'd be solar powered, and then the bricks would be the batteries.
Yeah. And you get to load balance. I think people don't even know like how much energy.
How well does graphene conduct? Sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
How well does graphene conduct heat?
Oh, it's fantastic. Conduct heat. I guess I don't know the answer to that. I know that it's amazing because it can be a good insulator. It can, it is a wonderful conductor of electricity. I guess I don't know the degree to which it heats up on the other side of the metal.
Just curious.
No, it's a question I'll do some research on though.
I was thinking about you saying it being in brick. One thing I'd always thought of is like whenever I go visit like family up in New England, like everybody has like a wood stove in the house, like a fireplace, and it's obviously fireplaces are not nearly as like efficient as getting a modern heater or something, but it's also just sort of part of the culture that's been there for eternity. And no, obviously you're not really concerned about like heat loss. It's, well, yeah, you have a big chimney, all the heat's just leaving out into like the sub-zero weather outside. But I'd always wondered, like, most of the people they're running a fire just to have the fire. Like, it's not for heat efficiency. It's just part of the atmosphere. What? And
really?
Well, yeah, but I mean, no, they'll have heaters on, but a lot of it's just you have an open fire. I'd always wondered if like how much of that waste heat was being lost through the chimney. Like if you had like some sort of like copper skeleton or graphene skeleton, like how much of that heat would be absorbed just regardless, because they're going to build it regardless. Does that make sense, or am I still clearly like concussed?
No,
I
it
guess
makes sense.
Like you wouldn't build a fire specifically to gather heat that way because there are more efficient ways. I mean, like splitting an atom and heating up water. But for people that were going to build the fire anyway, middle of July, they'll have a fire on just because it's a breezy evening and there's a crackling fire. So like if you're going to be combusting the wood anyway and losing the vast majority of the heat through the literal hole that is the chimney, like what if you could collect it? That's kind of like the water's going over Niagara anyway.
so
Might
you
as well
filter the heat from the waste that you're trying to exhaust.
Yeah.
Well, not everybody has great access to atom splitting.
Well, but you know what I mean. Like that's.
Yeah. Obviously we could do better. It's a worthwhile project for somebody to work on.
Do you know that this is being done, Matthew?
I don't know. I'm not.
There's a paper on what is it called? ResearchGate called Self-Heating Graphene Nanocomposite Bricks. So and it's not the first article I found. So like people, this is a thing. Graphene concrete is a thing, which I didn't realize, which only makes sense. I was looking up the R value, and I'm not sure.
I have no idea whether or not I've seeded this in any way or not. Though probably multiple people have thought of it. I've been talking with people about it for like 6 or 8 years now, trying to encourage the idea, but also, one thought I had was, hey, if I can figure out how to make a brick that works like that, then heck, why not just have a local brick company? I even thought too, if you have a local brick company, now you can get artistic. All the beautiful masonry work that we have forgotten how awesome it is. That's something I would want to do. All the tessellations, make driveways that have, nice patterns, but also the arches, right? People forget how awesome the archwork was of yesteryear. And, if I had a retirement hobby like that would just be, that would be it. Like, that would be wonderful.
Yeah. Not even just, I'm thinking like not even necessarily or exclusively brick, but yeah, like 1900 to like 1940 Manhattan. Those buildings are so, I mean, you look at them now and you'd be like, why would you build those? There's so much extra, that's so much extra money. Just build glass and steel. But dude, you go and stare at like the base of the Chrysler building or something, and you're like, this is, I mean,
yeah,
like
or in the subway, the Caledonian archways.
Grand Central Station. The first time I went in there, I was like, this is like our, like what I would imagine is you go to like Egypt and see like the tombs. You're like, oh, this was like a tomb for royalty. And it's like, no, it's just a subway. But it was, I don't know. Yeah, insanely beautiful. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still banking wildly on Mathew to carry this podcast. Sorry. I'm running at about 50% capacity right now in my brain.
Well, yeah.
I shared an article.
Okay.
Yeah, this conversation needs to be had for this reason. There is this false notion that is driving what I call the Malthusian mind virus. The Malthusian mind virus is that we just can't do any better. Yeah. That we are just expending resources, and then those resources will run out and it'll just be catastrophe. And this is part of what gets a certain number of educated people on board, the idea that we need to like diminish the population, right? Like have some sort of clever way to like make people have less children, maybe without them understanding what's going on. Like USAID, if I understand correctly, did in Peru, sterilize a whole bunch of people, and get people to go along with it as much as possible before they've maybe completely thought it through, right? The truth is that by making so much of our technological economy asymmetric, what we've done is we've taken the creativity out of the hands of so many people. right? A lot of the reason a lot of things aren't built is simply because of intellectual property law. The reason a lot of things aren't built is simply because we've made it so hard for people to accumulate resources that you don't have a lot of the tinkerers who would be inventors given the time. A lot of people don't even remember that, like, the Wright brothers didn't have a high school diploma between them, right? They had more lost teeth from hockey pucks than they had,
right.
Engineering mentors, right? They were just two kids who were fascinated and did it, right? And that's the way a lot of things occur. The mountain bike wasn't invented by one person. It was invented by dozens of people. Somebody made a larger frame, somebody made a fatter tire, somebody did this and that, and it got passed around. And I don't even know if there was ever anybody who wanted to take credit for that. But we can live in a much better technological civilization. And by not recognizing that, by allowing the academic caste to control the perception of all of that, we're missing a lot of opportunities. And Tommy, you hit on just one. How can we better collect the heat from the fire? But there are a lot, and I guess people are thinking about some of these with graphene, but God only knows how much of that is being slowed down by intellectual property law. There are advances that we can make to solar panels. Here's a thought experiment that I did when I was 7 years old. This was actually one of my proudest childhood moments. Was to be thinking about something and go, this is actually interesting. I was imagining a cube. I had learned what a two-way mirror was, where you can see through one side and it reflects on the other. And I thought, oh, well, what if you had a cube where light could go in, but would just bounce around on the inside, and it would just heat up and heat up and heat up. And of course, I didn't know what a black body was. At some point, it just starts radiating the energy out if it can't escape. But of course, two-way mirrors aren't perfect anyway, right? But this is the type of thinking that goes into something like, a solar collector that's collecting energy. And now that we have, and if we can throw in layers of graphene with a gel in between, we can start to create energy trappers, right? That are better and better. And graphene is so strong that that these things are going to last a very long time. They're not going to be broken down very easily. Sun isn't going to break them down. Anyhow, yeah, there's a lot that we would be able to do if we had a more decentralized power structure.
Do you think a lot of it's, what did you say earlier? Neo-Malthusian?
Malthusian mind virus is what I call it. It's people who can't see the possibility that we don't have to have a collapse point, right? That we can actually solve our bottlenecks and get past them.
So actually,
but you have to let the creative people be creative. You have to let the creative people be creative and do it. You can't stop them from doing it and then go, well, now we need to take control and eliminate the useless eaters. No, that made the useless eaters, that you stopped people from being creative, right? So that's my big fight, I feel like, is fighting the Malthusian mind virus.
I don't know how well I'll be able to explain it right now because of my brain dead nature. But actually, the night I got the concussion last Wednesday, I was out drinking with two of my buddies, both of them combat veterans, one of whom I'd known for well over a year, but the other whom was just one of his friends that I met that night, and we got chatting and shit face having a conversation. But we were talking about my podcast, the people I've had on, veterans, and the statistics that 22 a day, right? 22 suicides from veterans a day. And he was kind of saying to me in blunt terms that the way only a combat veteran could was look, I came home and there's one of two paths. It was going to be drugs and alcohol or just suicide. And it's kind of making me, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but it's kind of making me think of what you said, the Malthusian mind virus. And he was like, I moved home in 2012. And he's like, I've decided that I went to combat at when I was 18 and came back at 22. And he's like, I went in, a rough, tough, kill a Marine. And he's like, and I did my job and I killed. And he's like, and you get good at it and you destroy. But as you get older, you start to realize like you were lied to, that like no one in Iraq hurt me. Like I don't know anyone. And he goes, now you can come home and you can say, fuck, the government lied to me. You can be a crotchety old man. He goes, you can turn to an alcoholic. You can just commit suicide and call it PTSD. And he's like, but I decided that instead of destroying, what I wanted to do was create. And he's like, so I learned woodworking. Like I learned painting. I learned,
Wow.
and he became like I want to say, I'm sure he's watching this saying, you're getting the story wrong, but like became like a
Ah,
carpenter, like a painter, and he worked on all these like public works
that's
projects in
wonderful.
like DC. And I remember he said, he goes, if you go to Washington, DC, I thought he was going to say like, like my brothers paid for that. He goes, you can't look at the skyline and not see my love. And I was just like, Jesus. And he was doing
Wow.
construction work on a friend of mine's house. And he's like, you see all that? And he was pointing all this new woodworking above the refrigerator. He was like, I did that one yesterday. And I was like, no, you didn't. And I was like, that was a sweet story, but no, you didn't. And he showed me that like all this brand new, these like perfectly stained arches and just little things that you and I wouldn't notice, but it's like these little tiny things that make a home. He was like, I create that now. And he's like, I don't destroy anymore. All I do is create. He's like, and you can't take that from me. And
That's
that's been
amazing.
something that's been,
That's phenomenal. He
yeah.
should have like his own show, or there should
I
be
told
something
them, no,
like
I got his number.
there
And I
should
was
be
like,
a
you're
there
going
should
to
be a
come on the show.
podcast dedicated to reconnecting with your
Absolutely.
creativity
Yeah.
after being a destroyer. The suicide number, that 22. I
Yeah.
actually recently did some computations because I was thinking about the work that I did on the Defense Medical Epidemiological Database, and seeing the suicide numbers within the military. I know that they're also outside the military, but for men who go into the military and come out, there's something like a 9% chance that they die from suicide. And that's my rough back of the envelope computation. But I think that that's about the number. It's about 9%. That's enormous. That's
Yeah.
enormous. And if somebody could make a program, a podcast, a television show, or something showing these people coming back, learning a craft, being productive, and maybe not everybody is going to be a master craftsman, but those people who create those small companies, then they can hire also, right? I mean, people are going to go in different directions, do different things, but that alone would be a phenomenal show.
Yeah. No, I told him, I was like, you're coming on the podcast. And about an hour later, he and I went outside and I got a concussion. So it's kind of been on pause, but he is going to come on. I am going to get him on when I'm at 100%. But I remember him telling
Yay.
me that.
That is so important.
It was amazing. I remember him telling me that. And I was like, dude, he was like, I was like, that was an amazing story. He's like, oh, you're just being nice. I was like, dude, I literally talk to
No,
people for a
no.
living. I was like, because he watched the podcast. I'm like, I talk to people for a living, and I'm telling you, that was one of the best conversations I've had. So, but yeah, no, he's just
So many people need to hear that
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Just even for hope, let
yeah,
alone inspiration. Like wow, that's really that's huge.
yeah,
And it is inspiring. Wow.
yeah. It is, and it's kind of goes back to the Malthusian mind virus thing. Like, if you can just take a little bit of that mindset of like, no, this isn't as good as it gets. He could have said, and this is a guy that has health problems from combat. I mean, he could bitch about it all day, every day. But
Yep.
instead, he's like, no, he's like, I'm going to create. And like, when I create, that's my love. And like, you can't do he's almost like a dare. Like, you can't do anything about it. There's my love, like, I'm going to leave that here. And so to me, it's like, if you could kind of get that mindset into more people, we could sit here and go, no, it's a great reset. We're just a bunch of, right? Because it's all rooted in self-hatred. My carbon footprint, my whiteness, my straightness. Like, no, stop looking at it and instead look at it as like, what can you create? Like, where's the love? Because if
Well,
this guy can do it, why can't we all do it?
yeah, the people who go get their education at as high level as they can, or as many degrees as they can, but who don't stop to live any life in between. I think those are the people that self-hatred is all they have left, because they know that there are problems. They are told that these problems are critical, and then they don't have any power at all. right?
Yeah.
It's these things together, or if they have power, they don't know, or they just sold themselves into hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, where they're going to have to pay penance to the system before they can even think about it, and then their young lives are over, right? You're almost better off, coming out of the military at 25 or something like that, and having, and having some raw skill set, and then going, okay, what am I going to do now? Right? Some people go back to college. Some people pick a craft. Some, people can do anything. We need a total mindset change, and this needs to penetrate the college kids, right? Because it's not their fault. They've been so misled. They've been baited along the way with all kinds of terrible propaganda, and they don't know. They come out of college. How many of them would know? How many of them would be able to have this conversation about the difference between symmetric and asymmetric technology and what that means? And if they can't, maybe they shouldn't have the college degree to begin with. Maybe that's the problem, that we have the wrong skills first. And the wrong skills first is what you do when you want to build surf town. It's not, it's what you want when you build pseudo slavery. It's not what you want when you're trying to creatively rebuild the world.
When you said surf town, I just had this immediate mindset of like a rocket powered type, like surf town.
I know.
I was just thinking, I was like, is Jessica
picked the
building
wrong
a surf
term?
town?
I looked down at Jessica, and she's a
not in New
surfer.
No, you said so you mean SERF? I was thinking
SERF.
I thought you meant surf town. I was like, are you throwing shade on like this?
I immediately thought surf as in SURF.
Yeah, I knew I picked the wrong word.
I had a feeling Jessica was like building, I don't know, like an amusement park called Surf Town, and I was like, dude, don't shit on Surf Town.
I didn't want to pick Slave Town. I didn't want to pick Slave Town because there's some word, and we may not even have the right word, right? There's some word.
Yeah.
It's a new thing. It's this new form of modern quasi-slavery. It's not slavery. They make sure it's not slavery, right? What is that?
Battery Town?
Battery Town?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, because they're not really turning us into batteries. They're just harvesting our energy. Well, that kind of is anyway.
Cattle Town.
Yeah, it's the Matrix.
Yeah, something. Like
You don't want to insult cows.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I find fascinating about it all? It's like, if you really asked people, they'd all vote for like endorsing the creatives. Like, I personally think everyone could be and is a creative somewhere.
But yeah.
Most people are just really onion covered. Like the layers are too thick and the creative's too trapped or whatever, but probably so much so that they don't realize they have that. But I think it's in there in most people, and that's precisely where progress will come from. Like if everyone was like Buckminster Fuller, can you imagine what the earth would be like right now? I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
What a place. The possibilities are literally endless. Like we have more than enough on this planet so that everyone would be in abundance. And I don't just mean like food and water and whatever. I mean like living in joy, sustainable joy and harmony. Like it's just, why is that not the goal? I find it so bizarre that we have this.
I think it probably is the goal, except for a very small, very powerful few.
Right.
And so it makes us think, well, how could it be the goal? No one else wants it. But if you have, so you're in, no. But if you have a conversation with us three, we're all like, or even the Marine, it's like, oh yeah, no, I'll create love.
Yeah.
Right?
Somebody introduced me to a word recently, and I realized it was a better word than technocracy. Somebody said the word pathocracy, and I realized that's what it really is. Those few are so good at engineering illusions. And just like Rockefeller, when they didn't know, somebody in a PR suit, public relations outfit came to them and said, I can turn this around for you. You can be the asshole that you are and hand out dimes in the street a pittance of what you got from, abusing these other people, and make you look good for doing it.
Yeah. And then you go to Switzerland and
Deposit all in the banks.
Avi Yemeni got his passport taken away when he went back to Australia because he was reporting in that Davos thing. You guys know about that? Do you know who Avi Yemeni is?
I've had on the biggest Swiss bank whistleblower before.
Oh wow.
Brad Berkeley, Brad Birkenfeld.
Oh, is that from like? Oh yeah, I know who that is.
Is
That's
that
from like 2008, 9.
Yeah, the UBS
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I had him on my podcast. He's a badass.
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm curious to watch that episode now, because I remember watching that whole thing, going, "Wow, this is really about
Oh,
a
dude.
political party getting
dude.
lists."
Oh, dude.
That's what this is about. It is about getting lists and knowing who to blackmail or crank up the pressure on in order to bring that money into the party. The real Swiss banks are no longer the Swiss banks. It's the gray screen transactions that happen. There's another financial layer, and it happens all over the world, not just in Switzerland. The Swiss banking protection, that's gone. That's an old era.
His book, Lucifer's Banker, dude. It is like
Lucifer's Banker.
It's like the scarier version of like Wolf of Wall Street. Wolf of Wall Street's like fun and crazy and debauchery. This is like, oh, this guy's like, they're gonna kill me. It's like him informing him giving numbers or giving names to the FBI, and the FBI gives it to their higher ups, and their higher ups are like, we're not prosecuting these names. Like, these are the biggest donors to the president who appointed me. And you realize you're like, oh, this is just this incestuous royalty. So he started going out in front of like multiple different agencies and talking just so he wouldn't get whacked. He ended up getting the biggest whistleblower settlement of all time.
Wow.
104 million. He got it while in prison. He came in and they're like, actually, like, you've been gifted this, like, you're no longer in jail. And he's like in his orange suit. He's like, what do you mean? And like his lawyer like pushes it across the table, and he's like, you're being awarded not only your freedom but also $104 million. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know how Swiss banking. That's what it's about, though. Sorry, I completely derailed the conversation when you said that, Jessica.
No, you didn't. Not at all. Nope. Wow, that's amazing. I'm gonna read that book too.
Brad Birkenfeld, yeah. Lucifer's Banker. It's on Audible. It's fantastic. Listen.
Have you guys ever read the Dune novels?
No.
Because I feel like this conversation is feeding into what happens in the Dune novels. And I can't recommend this enough. I think there's a reason why Dune is the most read science fiction book of all time. Tens of millions of people have read the first book. I don't know how many people have gone further, right? And the books get harder as you go, right? Like the first couple are easier reads. I say easier reads, but they are very philosophical. These are books that I think most people would want to read more than once. But you get to like, I don't know if it's the fourth book, fifth book, God Emperor Dune. You've got like the second. Well, you've got a member of this Atreides family that went to Arrakis and took over, and you've got Paul's the one in the movie that came out recently. He's the one who fulfills this sort of Messiah story or whatnot, but it's his son that is able to like take it all the way, and they call it the Golden Path, right? And he becomes one of these giant worms, right? He's a guy, and then he's a giant worm. He's a giant sandworm. He's the God Emperor Dune at that point, right?
I saw that coming.
and he lives for thousands of years, and he sort of intentionally suppresses society because society had been so twisted and so warped for so long that it had lost its ability to be adventurous and creative. And so he suppressed travel, he suppressed the creatives, and suddenly, after it was time, lifted that. And what happened is everybody just really wanted to go out. And so humanity had this diaspora where it left the central planets where it had been developing under this, horrific, terrible political structure for so long. And everybody just went out into the galaxy in every direction.
So he did them all a favor.
And that ensured the survival of humanity. And there's this part of me during all the pandemonium that's like, is there a God Emperor Dune that has been like, putting the lid on all of us and just wants us to just have this, like, let's just break out. Like, when is the lid going to come off and we're all just going to have this freedom and do with it what needs to be done? But you have to wipe away all those barriers, the intellectual property barriers. That needs to be done with, right? We need to get rid of the political structure that prevents the diaspora, because we are ready for the diaspora.
I was laying on a bed by myself, tripping acid in 2016, and was like, I was like looking up at the stars and stuff.
I'm sorry to start like that.
What? What?
Gary Mullis, we need you here.
But like one of the realizations I had was like, it was just this image of like, what if all the evil people in the world that we see, all the evil bankers, the politicians on the left and the ones that lie about WMDs or the 2008 financial crisis, or what would now, years before, what would become COVID. I was like, what if that's like a necessary part of like pulling back the slingshot? They're just pressing down on it. And eventually we're going to be like, fuck these motherfuckers. We're going to the moon. We're going somewhere else. We're going to start our own new place based on, I don't know, just like them being kind of shoved out of England and going, fuck it, we're creating America. Maybe you need that favor where you press it all the way down and finally it bursts out. That doesn't make them any less evil, but it's like, maybe there is a benefit in that. And then it makes you break out in every other direction.
Well, like in the Dune universe, there are two things. One, you've got the
universe.
The Duneverse. In the Duneverse, you've got the factions. You've got the great houses who run the capitalist enterprises, and you've got sort of specialists that have almost become their own species. You know, the guild navigators who take in so much spice, it warps their mind, and they bend space using pure mathematics that they train their whole lives for, right? And you know, you've got such specialization that it's almost speciation. But you have all these different political elements, and they're all just, you know, they're doing awful things to the people. But then the God Emperor Dune comes in, and so like when you think, like, what is the analogy to today? Most of it's going to be the screwed up political environment. It just is screwed up. It is you know, people at the tops of these houses, they're almost all psychopaths, right? And they are being awful to people. It is just total cruelty. And you know, they would, you know, almost everybody in the realm would be at each other's throats if they had the opportunity. Then the God Emperor Dune comes in, and the God Emperor Dune, I mean, you know, goes on a jihad, you know, leads a jihad. You know, billions of people are killed in this jihad, but it brings about the point at which then you can have the creative revolution.
Who's Worm Guy in our analogy?
I don't know. No. It would be somebody with immense power, but it would be somebody who's doing it for the sake of the people, right?
Oh,
Right.
Elon.
Maybe. I don't trust anyone. I say my personal opinion is don't look for a daddy hero.
Yeah, no.
You know, we should all be pursuing our creativity on our own and looking for decentralized solutions. So I know a lot of Elon fanboys, and I say, you know, you got to hold that back. Otherwise somebody's going to game that too.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to keep my fanboy nature for him. I always keep it at like arm's length. I'm like, it's going to fuck you up. Don't, because the second you start creating the savior, all of a sudden you are taking the burden off yourself to come rescue yourself.
Right.
So,
you're moral offloading in a way that creates surface of attack.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean it's not fun. It doesn't mean you can't like, oh, is he like, that's fine. You know, you can have an inspiration. Sure, I want to be like him when I grow up. That's fine. But yeah, definitely don't be like Elon's or, you know, like QAnon. Like, oh no, they're gonna come save it. And it's like, no. Like, you got to learn yourself. Like, you got to learn how to whatever, you know.
Maybe we're all the God Emperor Dune.
Maybe. I know I feel like a giant worm, you know. You know, I go around and eat people and shit spice.
I'm just sprinkling myself with spice all day long.
Yeah, when the camera goes off, I just swim back, you know, swim back there.
I dive into sand.
I'm gonna slither my way into bed. I don't think there's any Grand Dark. I'm just fat and lazy.
I
Well,
have to read those
maybe-
books now.
Oh, they're great. Oh, you'll love them. You'll love them.
I know.
While I have you both here, if we could wrap it up on this note, I can do like another like 15 more minutes before my brain shuts down. What do y'all think about monkeypox? Is this the next COVID, or is this just all hubbub?
Oh, you want to go first? Or will
You
I?
probably know more about this than I do by a lot.
Well, I can tell you what I think. I think that they're trying. They either tried or they're trying currently. I never know because it seems like the people who are paying attention kind of know stuff a few months ahead of the world. But whatever. To make this into clearly something that it's not. And it could be about, a new shot and a new profit system and or it could be about something creepier than that, because one of the things I've learned since researching the vaccine that was approved against smallpox in 2019, which is a joint smallpox / monkeypox product. It's a vaccinia virus, which, is cowpox virus, for which many people are warned against getting because there are reactions. There are known adverse reactions to this pox virus vaccine. And one of the things that is also known about it is that it can, it has been shown to be associated with, let's just say, myocarditis and other known heart conditions. So the warnings are everywhere and they're very strong. One product is called ACAM 2000, which they don't use because it's bad shit. It causes a lot of adverse events. 97.7% of people in the trial, 97.7% experience an adverse event in the context of this product. Okay.
So Moderna no longer holds the record, huh?
Moderna, step aside.
No, well, maybe we don't know yet.
Oh yeah.
But the new product called Jynneos is supposed to be a safer version of this product. So I think everyone, first of all, should be careful and start listening very closely for the word Jynneos, because they're probably going to start pushing this on people. Now, the problem I have with that immunologically is if what some of the papers are coming out and showing us are true, like in terms of immune deficiency syndromes showing up in a lot of people. It doesn't even have to be that bad. You don't have to have low CD8s. It could be that you've developed an autoimmune condition. It could be that the shots made your existing autoimmune condition worse. If you have anything related to an autoimmune condition, an existing heart condition, either induced by the COVID products or not, you cannot get injected with these monkeypox shots. You can't. They're counterindicated. That's the word that we use. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because I think that's what they're going to try and do. And it's interesting because the symptoms, the outward symptoms of monkeypox are very visible. It's really easy to detect. And a lot of people, though, will confuse this, probably from what I'm seeing from pictures of adverse reactions to the COVID shots. They're going to confuse these two things and they're going to freak out and they're going to be like, okay, I have monkeypox, when in fact they have a shingles outbreak and I have to go get, you know what I mean? There's all this really bad potential stuff that could happen. But I think I didn't say the most important thing. I think the whole thing is just another scare tactic. I really do. Nothing to be afraid of in reality. We have ways to cope with monkeypox. It's not smallpox.
There's a terrorism element that just gets people to stop thinking well about it, right?
That's right.
And to stop, thinking on their own, reading reading actual research. People should try, even if it's hard. People should try to read more research.
Yeah.
There should almost be like we have book clubs, like just common research reading circles.
Beautiful idea. Book clubs online. Yeah. Read this book. We'll meet in a week and let's discuss. What a great idea. Well, I mean, we're doing that, but like everyone should do that. You're so right. Just have a discussion. Like, what the hell is monkeypox? Okay, let's all read about it and then convene and let's talk about what this is, and we'll all figure out, okay, it's nothing to worry about. You definitely don't need to get vaccinated.
And I don't know where Jessica is with all of this, but there, not being a biologist, the last 2 years, I've just had this flood of information, come at me. I think even for the biologists, it's been a flood of information, but I have wondered, I do think now that there is something to the vaccine autism story. Yeah. Right. Autism, anything that happens in your developmental process that throws something off, that can manifest as autism. Autism it's like a catch-all for neurological stuff or genetic stuff that happens that throws off something. And then suddenly you're a little bit different. It's not enough to kill you, but you're a bit different. And I think that there is this constant battle being waged over the externalities of the pharma industry and how to play it off. I think that's one of them. I think that that AIDS may be to a degree one of them. I've come around to, and I'll credit Stephanie Senoff for this. She changed the way that I thought about viruses by just thinking, okay, everything that's living is exchanging genetic information in the environments all the time. And once I started thinking that way, I started thinking about the interplay between viruses and terrain. And there are plenty of people already talking about this and have been for years, trying to get people to talk about it more. But yeah, I think viruses will cause problems when there is terrain that is already unhealthy. And I think that HIV, may be as big a problem as it is for some subset of people because they already have problems in their terrain, and that they're it may even.
I won't refute that.
What's that?
I won't refute that.
And that we're setting up with things like monkeypox, we're setting up reasons to buckets to toss the current vaccine injuries into.
Precisely. I completely agree. Yeah, exactly.
They're trying to launder it, but there are too many people paying attention.
That's exactly what you always have the best ways, the words. Yeah, this is like symptom laundering. That's exactly what it is.
Symptom laundering.
Great terminology, dude. Yes.
Symptom laundering. Yep. We invented it right here, and that's a good way to.
High five.
That's a good way to end the podcast, right? Except Tommy's gone, so
Tommy's not here.
When he comes back, we're gonna lay symptom laundering on him. You ready for it?
Yeah.
Tick tock, tick tock.
We'll just pretend we're frozen until he comes back.
Right.
Okay, Tommy, we have a conclusion for you. We
Ready?
Put our heads together, and
Yeah.
each of us came up with a piece of this symptom laundering, and that's what you should name this episode, is symptom laundering.
Exactly. There you go. It always happens right at the end.
That's what monkeypox is. I mean, there's one
Symptom
more theory.
laundering.
There's one more theory for
laundering?
monkeypox. There's one more theory for monkeypox that's reasonable, which is that it's a big Joe Rogan advertisement.
Hello, sweet kisses.
It might be.
Hello, sweet kisses.
Oh God. I was gonna say
it's either Joe Rogan or it's symptom laundering. All these problems with the vaccines, with all these adverse events, they're going to be able to take a certain portion of these people and go, well, you got monkeypox.
Yeah.
Or maybe they even did get this virus,
Or
and it did harm them only because their system was already harmed previously.
or for like upcoming kids that are gonna have problems. Well, your mom didn't have adequate access to formula. That's what this is. It's not from the spike protein.
It's your fault.
Yeah, they're gonna
It's
guess.
your
it.
Your
fault.
fault.
Yeah. No, they're gonna gloss it over from a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, Ukraine war is not big enough yet, but like hopefully it doesn't. But they're gonna try to pawn it off as something else, just a broad. Yeah, it'll be X, Y, or Z.
Yeah, they're going to call the next one Russian pox.
Yeah.
Wait for it. Putin pox.
Yeah. What were you saying about reading what papers? So like group like book clubs for papers,
Yeah,
like white papers.
That's what
ordinary
we
people.
do. Once a week in the MSc in any academic program that I've been in, once a week you have a journal club. So one person, one sucker gets chosen to present a horrible paper from Nature, which literally is the worst possible experience I've ever had in my life. Oh my God, those papers. It's like they're one page or something. But they have like 20,000 references. And then that reference goes to another paper. And then there's like 16 other. What a nightmare. I mean,
Well,
deciphering a Nature paper is a task, really.
it could be more productive than that, though. I mean, the idea is to put together a circle and to discuss a scientific article once a week. And if you have something like that, and you know, somebody could even do that as a podcast.
Well,
right? That could be a podcast.
Well, what I was gonna say is every week I read a book, and I have I use Audible, so it's cheating. But I started keeping track. Let's see. I started keeping track last week, last year. Let me find it. Come on.
What was the last book you read or listened to?
Currently, I'm listening to Shadow Factory by James Bamford about the NSA. All right. So the first one I did was
bedtime reading.
August 24th, 2021 was when I started, August 24th, 2021. And that was Winter Fortress by Neil Bascom. And it was all about the Nazi heavy water plant to help build nuclear weapons in World War II, where to get heavy water. And I just do it
What
for
do you
myself.
Get heavy water? Did they get it or did they
make heavy water? Yeah.
Like deuterium water or
yeah. And they're using Norsk Hydro. It was a water or like a hydroelectric plant in Norway, I think. Anyway, it's a book about that and about how we went in and blew it up so that they couldn't build nukes. Whatever. I just like my stipulations are it's like that it's a nonfiction book, just so I'm getting something out of history. And so going through all these books, the book I mentioned earlier, Lucifer's Banker by Bradley Birkenfeld, that was the fourth one in my year-long thing. Now, I'm not even at a year yet. August 24th will be a year. And right now I'm on book 53 or 54. So my goal is to do one a week, and I'm surpassing that. And I'm on Shadow Factory, the ultra secret post 9/11 NSA by James Bamford. It was written in 2003, so it's a little out of date. But I do these for myself, and if I can get the author on, it's a win. But I read a book every week just for myself, and I try to like tie in factoids from that. I was gonna say that could be something cool to do on here. I don't know if it'd be every week, but if we did something like once a month or something, even if it was just us three, just choose some paper and then do a podcast about that. I don't know if that's something y'all. It's shit I do on my own anyway. Granted,
I'd be willing
books,
to
not papers.
If you were to do something like that, I'm going to recommend having more than two of us. My personal opinion is that all the best like articles that I've been able to write or deductions I've been able to make, if you have 5 smart people in the room, that's a good number. That's a good number to really dig down into a paper, because everybody has their different talents and their different ways of seeing things. And 5 people in a room would just crush the Bangladeshi mask study in a matter of minutes. Five smart people in a room would be able to break down a lot of these topics in an hour and just be done with it.
And you also have the title, 5 Smart People in a Room.
I was gonna say, well, one, just us, because I feel like we've done enough episodes together that we're kind of comfortable with it. I think another interesting thing would be with kind of everything we've been talking against. I thought it'd be interesting if like one person had to take like the devil's advocate view. Like we'd be talking about how shitty Klaus is. Somebody would have to defend the World Economic Forum. And like, even if you didn't, like you would have to defend COVID lockdowns. And it would be like a mental exercise to see if you could even bullshit together a hypothesis. Because to me, I think those are some of the most important, or those are the most effective ways at keeping your mind elastic, is when you're asked to defend something you don't believe in. So it's like,
I think you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I think they're very good.
And that typically happens anyway. You get 5 smart people talking about a paper, and if it starts to go real, in one direction, somebody says, okay, well, let's play devil's advocate or look for a reason why we're wrong. So that'll happen. You get 5 good people, that'll happen.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd be cool starting that with at least just us, since we've already done so many together. I'd be comfortable with doing something like that.
Sure.
Who picked the paper? Do we do something like current eventy, or
I'd leave it up to you two to choose a paper, and then we'd all have like a week or a month.
Yeah, Jessica, let's talk about this and let's see who else we can rope in. I think 1 or 2 more people would make this better.
I think that would be really cool. We could start small. We could do it like once a month or something. And that's about how often we do our podcast anyway. So if we did it like once a month, and if it turned into something cool, we could dial it up a little more. I'd be down to do that. I think that'd be really cool.
Me too, 100%. And by the way, I also got a lot of feedback about this being people's favorite place to listen to us. Well, lots of positive feedback.
Oh, hell yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
You meant, I was like, wait, where? Who's listening to us? I was like,
well, one of the emails I got about the dream was from this really nice person, and they said they sent the email and they said the stuff, and then they sent another email and they said, by the way, my favorite time to see you talking is on Tommy's podcast with Mathew. And it was the day before we were meant to talk. And so I was like, well, lucky day for you, because we're doing it tomorrow.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I didn't tell them we postponed 2 days, because they don't know when we're gonna actually upload it. So anyway, it made me happy that we can deliver another one.
That does mean the world to me. Yeah, it's always very nice when people are like, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but, and I'm like, no, I don't. So people are like, I love your show. I'm like, give me. I'm like, my ego needs the adulation. I'm like, give it to me. Give it to me.
You do a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. You have interesting guests, but you do a good job of getting the conversation going, and taking it both in the main topics and out and around.
Hell yeah.
Taking it out and around and back in, that's a skill that's important.
It's not something I intentionally do. Just kind of trip my way through it.
Creative
with my
concussion
glasses. I know, right? Any closing thoughts or stuff you all want to touch on?
Get your rest, man. Feel better.
Yeah, I agree. We've pushed your limits.
No. It was
over, and we've had a wonderful time, and we have a great idea for more. So
yeah, thanks for inviting us always.
As always, man. Thank you so much, Dr. Rose and Mathew Crawford. I'll put you all Substack in the description as always, and all the other links and all those goodies will be in the description. Everybody go check them out. We've done 4 episodes now, I think 5, all of us together. So go check those out. And Mathew and Dr. Rose, yeah, you guys bounce some ideas off each other about papers and stuff, and I'd love to, I guess, just include me include me in the email group, and we can start getting a cool online paper group or something.
Sounds good. See you next time.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care. God bless everybody.